NASA has officially canceled all upcoming Starliner crew flights. Boeing, the company that received $4.2 billion compared to SpaceX's $2.6 billion, has been grounded after engineers discovered fatal design flaws in the thruster system. 2 astronauts were stranded for months because Starliner was too dangerous to bring them home. How did the company everyone trusted most become the one NASA can no longer fly? Welcome back to Space Update 24 Hours. Let's dive right in. Back in 2014, NASA made a bold choice. They selected 2 companies to rebuild America's astronaut transportation system, SpaceX and Boeing. SpaceX received $2.6 billion for their Dragon capsule. Boeing got $4.2 billion for Starliner. Why the difference? NASA believed Boeing's decades of experience building space shuttles and orbital hardware made them the safer bet. Everyone expected Boeing to finish first, deliver on time, and become the backbone of American spaceflight. But what actually happened next shocked the entire aerospace industry. Starliner's first uncrewed test flight launched in December 2019. Within minutes of reaching orbit, the mission started falling apart. A software bug caused the capsule's mission timer to be off by 11 hours. That single error triggered a cascade of failures. Thrusters fired at the wrong time, fuel burned too fast, and Starliner missed its rendezvous with the International Space Station completely. The capsule had to return to Earth without ever reaching its destination. How could a company with Boeing's reputation miss something so fundamental? When engineers dug deeper, they found over 80 additional software errors hidden throughout the system. Some of those bugs were so severe that if they had activated during flight, the capsule could have been destroyed. NASA was furious. They ordered Boeing to redo the entire test mission at Boeing's own expense. No additional payments from taxpayers. Boeing had no choice but to agree. The second attempt didn't go much better. In 2021, engineers were preparing Starliner for launch when they discovered 13 propulsion valves were stuck shut. Moisture had seeped into the service module and corroded the valves from the inside. The entire spacecraft had to be removed from the rocket, disassembled, and rebuilt. The delay stretched on for months while Boeing scrambled to fix a problem that should never have existed in the first place. Starliner finally launched again in May 2022. This time it reached the ISS, but the mission was far from perfect. Multiple thrusters failed during the orbital insertion burn. NASA noted the issues, but allowed the test to continue. After docking, additional safety problems emerged. Parachute soft links were weaker than specifications required, and flammable tape inside the cabin posed a fire risk. These weren't minor oversights. These were basic safety failures on a spacecraft designed to carry human beings. Then came June 2024, the mission that would change everything. NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams climbed aboard Starliner for what was supposed to be the final test before regular crew rotations began. The capsule launched successfully and headed toward the ISS. But as it approached the station, the reaction control thrusters began overheating and shutting down one by one. The astronauts managed to dock, but NASA engineers were alarmed. Something was seriously wrong with their propulsion system, and no one knew exactly what. Ground teams ran simulations and analyzed telemetry data for weeks. What they discovered was deeply troubling. Tiny Teflon seals inside the thruster valves were breaking down under heat and pressure. These seals were so small that Boeing's engineers had overlooked them during testing. But when they failed, the entire thruster system became unpredictable. Engineers recreated the exact failure in ground tests, proving this wasn't a fluke. It was a fundamental design flaw baked into Starliner from the beginning. NASA faced an impossible decision. Could they trust Starliner to bring Wilmore and Williams home safely? The agency spent months debating internally. Finally, in August 2024, NASA made the call. Starliner would return to Earth empty. The astronauts would stay on the ISS and wait for a SpaceX Crew Dragon to bring them home. That rescue mission launched in September 2024 with only 2 crew members instead of 4, leaving 2 seats open. Wilmore and Williams finally returned to Earth in March 2025 after spending nearly 9 months in space instead of the planned 8 days. That moment marked the end of NASA's confidence in Boeing. If Starliner couldn't be trusted to bring two astronauts home on a test flight, how could it ever be trusted for routine missions? The technical problems were bad enough, but the financial disaster was equally staggering. Let's break down the numbers. NASA paid Boeing $4.2 billion to develop Starliner. SpaceX received $2.6 billion for Crew Dragon. Boeing's cost per astronaut seat climbed to around $90 to $100 million. SpaceX charges NASA approximately $55 million per seat. That's a 70% price difference. If NASA launched 10 crew missions in a single year using only SpaceX, the total cost would be roughly $2.2 billion. If Boeing handled those same 10 missions, the bill would jump to somewhere between $3.6 and $4 billion. NASA would be spending an extra $1.5 billion every year just to use the more expensive option. And that's assuming Starliner actually worked reliably, which it never did. The decision became unavoidable. NASA officially canceled all upcoming Starliner crew missions. The next scheduled flight, Starliner 1, will now launch without any astronauts aboard. Boeing's dream of becoming NASA's primary crew transportation provider is over. But here's the remarkable part. NASA isn't worried. SpaceX's Crew Dragon has already flown 11 successful crew missions to the ISS, plus multiple private astronaut flights. Every mission launched safely, reached orbit safely, and returned safely. Crew Dragon hasn't experienced a single major failure during human spaceflight operations. The Falcon 9 rocket that launches Dragon has completed over 300 flights with a success rate above 98%, making it one of the most reliable launch vehicles in history, and NASA's options are about to expand even further. Sierra Space is developing the Dream Chaser, a small space plane that lands on runways like an aircraft instead of splashing down in the ocean. Dream Chaser will initially fly cargo missions to the ISS, but Sierra Space is already working on a crewed version. The spacecraft offers smoother re-entry with lower G-forces and can land at conventional airports, allowing NASA to access returning astronauts within hours instead of days. When Dream Chaser enters service, NASA will have two reliable crew vehicles, neither of them made by Boeing. So what does this mean for Boeing's future in space? The company has already absorbed over $1.8 billion in cost overruns on Starliner. Their reputation has taken a devastating hit. And now, with NASA moving forward without them, Boeing faces a choice: invest billions more to fix Starliner's problems with no guaranteed customers, or accept defeat and walk away from human spaceflight entirely. Boeing's Starliner saga is a story of broken promises and shattered expectations. The company that NASA trusted most, the one that received billions more in funding, ended up delivering the least. While SpaceX transformed from an underdog into America's lifeline to space, Boeing struggled through failure after failure. Software bugs, corroded valves, overheating thrusters, and design flaws that couldn't be fixed. 2 astronauts spent 9 months in orbit instead of 8 days because Starliner was too dangerous to bring them home. That single moment told NASA everything they needed to know. The numbers don't lie. Boeing charged 70% more per seat than SpaceX while delivering a spacecraft that never proved it could fly safely with humans aboard. NASA would have spent an extra $1.5 billion every year choosing Starliner over Crew Dragon, money that can now go toward Artemis, deep space exploration, and the next generation of space technology. Meanwhile, SpaceX continues launching crew after crew with flawless reliability, and Dream Chaser is coming online to provide NASA with even more options. So here's the real question. Can Boeing recover from this? Or is this the moment history will remember as the end of Boeing's human spaceflight legacy? What do you think happens next? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit that like button and share this video with anyone who follows space news. And if you want to stay ahead of every major development in the space industry, subscribe to Space Update 24 hours and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.